Senior West Coast Editor at Glamour, Jessica Radloff.
So thank you. I love this place. I just want to move in here. You're gonna love Allison Brie. We were just talking. I was like, I need to go out yet. We were talking about good places to go for dinner. So she is the absolute best. As you just saw, is Amy Delaney in Apples Never Fall. She is this series. I mean, she's just so darn good. So I can't wait to talk to her all about her process in this particular episode. So without further ado, please welcome the amazing, talented Allison Brie.
This is true. Apples. You know, someone just tagged me in a video and they did like the side-by-side video of me breakdancing on the set of Community 13 years ago, and then me breakdancing on the set of Apples, and it's the exact same two moves. It's like, well, the jig's up. Those are the only moves I know, and I break them out once on every show.
Oh my God, it's really good. And by the way, I love that Amy has become like a verb on this show. Like it's
You're Amy.
Yeah, you're Amy.
Yeah.
So fantastic. So let's jump in first to this particular episode that everybody, I'm pointing there. I have no idea what's here. I'm like this, what you just watched. Did you approach it any differently since it was your episode, a standalone episode, versus the other episodes?
Sort of. I mean, at large, the answer is no. The character was who she was throughout all the episodes, and there was no way, you know, the way that they're going to film it and the way they're going to edit it is going to change the perspective that you're looking at, you know, each episode through. But there's another part of the answer, which is yes, in that I think reading this episode is what made me want to do the show. I mean, they sent me just 3. So I was like, we built to 3, and I was like, oh, what's going to happen to these people? What's going to happen to Joy? And wow, what interesting things to learn about this character, and what a challenge to tap into this depth of emotion and all of that. So the 3rd episode, I worked on it differently in that I worked on it so much. I read it constantly.
Okay.
I block shot the episode. So we were shooting the first 2 episodes for 6 weeks or something. You know, we didn't even get to this, you know what I mean? It wasn't sort of like the normal, we had a good amount of time on the show, and it wasn't like an episode a week or anything like that. And I would just read the 3rd episode constantly, especially these bigger Amy moments, sit with them, be listening to music, thinking about Amy's big monologue at the hospital, and even after we shot the episode, it remained my touchstone for the character throughout the rest of shooting. Our director of the episode, Dawn Shadforth, would often, when we were shooting scenes, and she directed episodes 3, 4, and 5,
Okay.
and anytime we were shooting scenes in that block, she would sort of come in and tap into things that I say in that monologue, and it would bring me right to where I needed to go. So in so many ways, I only worked on this episode, and then I just let that work sort of seep out into all the other episodes.
And wait, who has seen all 7 episodes? I don't want to. Okay.
4 people.
You guys.
Well, spoiler alert. Brooke slept with Savannah.
Yes, but also you guys have to watch all 7 episodes. So I devoured them. Yes, it is so, the payoff, everything, it is so good. Okay, so let's go back to the final scene, the final 5 minutes of this particular episode, where you and your father go into the morgue to identify a body. It's not Joy, and you come out and you just break down. I mean, it's so, the range of emotions you have to play in that scene is remarkable. So walk us through that moment in particular.
Well, I think the reason that that became so important to me to hang on to for the character in general was that you sort of learn everything about Amy in that moment. You know, she is overflowing with emotions that she cannot control at any given moment. And she is unlike the other members of her family in that way. And she is an empathetic, compassionate person. And she can be extremely vulnerable. And I mean, that's the most vulnerable we see her ever, I think, in the series. And also in that moment, we kind of see this shift in her, and this decision is made to share information with her family, which starts out sort of against her will. But she takes ownership of it, and I think it was just all about truth and honesty and stripping everything away. I mean, I do think in general that Amy, while the rest of the Delaney family thinks of her as like putting on airs in terms of her spirituality and things like that, I actually think she's a really authentic person and has like spent a lifetime doing a lot of work to undo a lot of things that were ingrained in her childhood, and that it actually is extremely authentic. At the same time, I don't know, don't we all wear some sort of mask? And especially in front of our family, we have a lot of armor that we kind of have to wear sometimes to navigate those relationships. And in that moment, she's totally raw, she's totally speaking the truth, which I think can be really hard. I don't know, so much in a family is unspoken or already established. But how often do you just like lay your soul bare in front of your dad when you're an adult?
Yes.
You know?
Yes. No, it's so true. Amy's finally free, I think, in that moment, which is why we see her reaction as she's walking away. But how much fun was the scene right after she break down, and then you and Essie, who plays Brooke, you two go at it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, how much fun was that to do in that scene? And then, of course, you leave on this bombshell. I mean, I will never rewatch that episode. You think, just like the Savannah, and that's all this.
It's a mic drop.
Yeah, it really is. So you go from bawling because you have just seen a dead body to then going at it with your sister on the show. So what was it like working with Essie for that scene?
I adore Essie Randalls. I love them so much, and we became very close over the shooting this. It was especially fun to take on a big sister role. I'm a little sister. I have an older sister. It's just the two of us. So I'm really versed in the sister relationship, but it was fun to be the older sister, and again, just to dive into the meat of how complicated that can be, how hurt you can make one another, how the expectations are somehow so much higher for that person, but you're never gonna tell them that outwardly. And I think also, just because Essie and I were so close, it was fun. It was fun knowing how much we loved each other in real life, and then could really let it rip. And you know, we're actors. You're like, in this scene, I get to scream and sob. It's like the actor's dream and nightmare. Because then leading up to it, we have to talk about, oh, my big scene is Thursday. You know, it's my big scene Thursday. That one, you're like, oh, big scene today. Nobody talk to me. But it was so fun and cathartic. And I think Essie reminded me that even in rehearsal, we were sort of like, didn't want to over-rehearse it, but they were like, can you give it to us one time so we kind of have a sense of where the camera should go when you guys are going full force? And we did it, and the crew was like, in shock, and then kind of laughed because they were so uncomfortable. We were like, oh my god, you guys really gonna do it like that? Yeah, Steve. The crew was really supportive. But it was fun, and it was, one of the great things about working with this ensemble on a show that really is a true ensemble show.
Yes.
And every episode sort of spotlights a different character, but within that, there's a lot, everyone's sort of taking turns sharing the spotlight. And we're a close-knit group, and I felt like that part of it was really seamless and really fun. And when I was shooting that scene, I felt my entire cast was there for me in whatever way I needed, and when we were shooting other scenes, I got to be there for them, and that give and take was really fulfilling.
Right. Had you met any of this cast before you started on the show?
Well, Jake and I had met briefly. We are both in a film called How to Be Single.
Yes.
On Netflix.
Yes.
But we didn't have any scenes together. Right. So I think we met once in passing.
I mean, she's ready for birthday. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Keep it going.
We had met briefly, but we're close friends. But our director Chris Bening, he wrote the first two and the last two, and he was really at the forefront of the development of all the characters. As he directed the first two episodes, we all got out to Australia early. We shot this on the Gold Coast of Australia, and we had, I think we had 2 weeks of rehearsals together before we even started shooting, so it was a lot of time with Chris Sweeney and with Melanie March, our writer.
Right, wonderful.
She's incredible, and anyway, Chris Sweeney had reached out to all of us before we flew to Australia, suggesting that we get on a group text chain. So, as the eldest Delaney sibling,
Just a sibling first, we gotta get to Annette and Sam.
he suggested just the siblings. So we started a siblings chain diligently. Obviously, we started making fun of Chris for making the suggestion that we had a space group chain and we had a sibling. I all fell in love. We're like, it's working. Then he reached out and was like, wait, Annette and Sam want to be on the chain, and we were like, we'll start a new chain. You can have your parents on the siblings chain.
Right.
Little did I know there'd be a lot more staff.
Yes, before you were on. Okay, because you gotta tell everybody your obsession with Annette's.
I'm obsessed with Annette.
You know?
And after working with Sam, I've always been a huge fan of Sam Mills as well.
Yeah.
I think we all walked away with crushes on Sam after this job. But yes, I've just idolized Annette for a long time. Just admired her as an actress. The American President is my favorite movie of all time. But obviously, she's great in everything she does. American Beauty, so extraordinary. The Kids Are Alright. Like I could go on and on.
Any movie she stars in that starts with an A.
It has to start with an A. That's really cool.
Yes,
Definitely. Yes.
American Beauty, Apples Never Fall.
Yes, exactly.
Anything else is shit.
That's right. That's canon. So I was excited and nervous to meet Annette. Annette had just, I feel like a year prior, she had done Courting with my husband Dave.
Okay.
Franco. And he had talked to her then about how much I love the American President. So when I met her, I was like, I think you saw my husband Dave. And she said, yes. Like, maybe he told you that here is the American President. She was like,
Oh my God.
She was so lovely. She was incredible. They say don't meet your idols. I think that is not true about Annette. She is a cool customer. She is such an extraordinary actress and person and leader on this set, and funny and joyful and assertive, and it gave me chills. I mean, there were days, this is what I'm talking about, honestly, having days where you would sit back and just be a part of the ensemble in a scene with maybe no dialogue, watching people act. There's a scene in the 5th episode that is sort of big blowout fight between Stan and Troy, and Annette gets in on that action, and Essie and I were just holding each other in the corner, chills, tears in our eyes, like we're not even on camera, I'm doing some of my best work. But it was extraordinary to work with Annette, and in this episode in particular, we got to have that scene at the start of the sort of the car together, which was extremely meaningful.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how did you relate to the character of Amy? Because it's so easy to blow her off in the beginning. It's like, oh, she's so raging and stuff, but there's so much depth to her. And you really do feel sorry for what she has gone through, because she's just, I think she'll get there eventually, and she is getting there in the series.
Yeah.
But, you know, she's just a late bloomer in a way. So how did you relate to her, and what did you appreciate about her?
Well, having grown up in Los Angeles and having gone to art school, don't think that I haven't bought some crystals, under the moonlight, wrote a prayer on a piece of paper, kept a candle burning for 7 days, hoping that I would get in Sundance. candle effect. But certainly, when I was a teenager, I was driving to Venice Beach and like dancing in drum circles. I think that there's like part of the tie-dye loose pants wearing spiritual Amy that I have lived, but people just don't really know about that and don't really associate with that.
Right.
And then on a more serious note, I think, speaking of Forest Girl, I have a familial history with mental illness, and that is a topic that's very close to my heart and important to me, and something that I have struggled with, and I'm constantly analyzing and learning those aspects of myself. So I can certainly empathize with Amy coming from that aspect of feeling alone, feeling isolated inside those emotions, and maybe not feeling like you can express that to the people that are closest to you. I think that's a really lonely feeling.
Yeah.
And Amy is sort of the black sheep of the family. To me, I was saying this on a panel recently with Jake, and he was like, Troy's the black sheep. I feel like any double Amy sibling, I feel like all of us are like, my character's the black sheep, I'm right here first. And that's where it ends. But I do feel that way about Amy.
Well, what's so funny too, and it's also very sweet, like the scenes that you and Annette have together, Joy, I feel like for Amy at least, Joy is her person. Joy is there for her.
Joy is her protector.
Yeah.
That Beyonce song that just came out. That's Joy for Amy. Because the family is constantly putting Amy down. They do not take her seriously.
Right.
And in a way it's a gift, because it frees her up to just do her own thing, which is what she wants to do anyway.
Yes.
But it's a struggle for her, and Joy is the rock. I mean, you're kind of learning throughout the series that Joy is the rock for everybody in the family in a lot of ways. And when she's removed from the equation, it's like this perfect alchemy was happening when all the members of the family were involved in each other's lives.
Right.
And when she's removed, things fall apart.
Yeah. How hard was it, by the way? I was talking to Melanie, the showrunner, about this too, because in the series, you're dealing with different time frames.
Yeah.
Because then, and now, like in this episode, I'm like, I keep pointing to this thing, you started in the beginning when you just decided to drop out of college. So how was it for you as an actor to go between the multiple time frames in each episode? Because I would imagine that was not easy to do.
It was interesting. Yeah, it was kind of tricky because the time difference is like 8 months.
Right.
It's not like 15 years where you're like, the start of this episode is like, I got bangs. I'm channeling it again now. But in the company. But it's not like, when you're flashing back and forth, we don't have these huge signifiers like, someone had a short bob and that hair was long. Why is it only about hair? In the way I approach the character. Did they go through a big life change, curly, straight? It was tricky. We just all talked about, especially because of the block shooting. Right. It's not like we were block shooting episodes at a time. We did 1 and 2 together, then we did 3, 4, and 5 together, then we had 6 and 7. And 6 and 7 also even weirder because we broke for the strike, then we came back. It was weird. But it was like they just had, there was something, I'm certain that early on they sent us some brief that I never looked at that was like, here's the timeline for the scene. It almost made it more confusing.
Right.
Scene 4 from episode 3 actually takes place in June, and then scene 5. Do you know what I mean? Like I was like, this is overwhelming.
Not gonna look at it.
I'm never gonna look at this again. I just we all just would check in with each other whenever. I mean, it's easy if Annette was in the scene.
Right.
It was the past.
Yes. I'm telling you, you guys have to watch this series. It's so damn good.
It was fun. It was really fun.
Okay, so you were sent originally, going back to the start of this whole project, you were sent episode 3. How did the project come
I was sent
about?
1, 2, and 3.
Oh, you were sent 1, 2,
Didn't
and
just
3.
drop it at 3 like all the
That's
guys.
they were like, wow. Yeah.
No, she's the star. Did it be 1, 2, and 3? So I think that
You need to host a talk show. You have to host Seriously, you know how funny you are, we see you in all these roles, but my God, like, just seriously, okay, go on, sorry.
They sent me the first three because I think those were the only ones that were like fully locked and finished
Okay.
at the time. I think that's what they sent
Okay,
Jake as well.
okay.
And I hadn't read the book, as we established, but I was coming off of a press tour where I was saying Annette Bening's name 5 times a day, talking about the American President being my favorite romantic film of all time. And it's my favorite movie at all, like for all time. Anyway, sorry. Then I got the phone call, and it was just like a balance of things. It was like, this show is starring Annette Bening and Sam Neill, and I was like, oh, exactly, say less. But then they said she's in Australia for 4 months, which turned out to be 6 months, or you know what I mean? Which felt a little scary. I'd never been to Australia, now I want to move there. I love it so much, and since I've gone back and shot another project with my husband there, I can't stay away. And then they sent the episodes, because I hadn't read the book, I read the episodes first, and I think I also was excited about the genre. Never done mystery before. I love Big Little Lies. I love Leanne Moriarty as an author. I love her books. I've read several of them.
Yeah, she's so brilliant. Did you want to know how the series was going to differ from the books? Because it does. There are some pretty big differences throughout.
Well, I was sort of learning that as I went, because so basically I read the first 3 episodes, and then I bought the book,
Okay.
and then hello.
Left breast.
It's live. So I read the first 3 episodes, and then I bought the book, and I started reading the book on the flight to Australia.
Okay.
And I'll just power through.
Go for it.
And right away I started realizing that there are differences, big and small. And even it was the smaller differences that made it very confusing to read the book. Like the brothers' age order is switched, or do you know what I mean? So
Yes.
or the relationship. Brooke is queer in our show and is married to a man in the book, and
Doesn't sleep with Savannah.
that is true.
Yeah.
And also though their relationship, she's not engaged, she's already married, there's a lot of just differences in terms of where people were at, and it was extremely confusing. So I sort of like stopped reading the book and just was like, well, I'm making the show, you know what I mean? Focus on the script and do that, and then I circled around and finished the book later.
Also, Amy's look is different. There's like blue hair in the book. I didn't read the book
Well,
either. But, right?
Let me tell you that I have some blue in my hair on this show.
Okay.
It was a big debate. Look, I'm glad we finally got around to talking about hair. It was a big debate. And when I read the first 2 episodes, it described her as having blue hair. And I started the book, she had blue hair. And I was like, oh my God, this is so exciting. Blue hair, I've seen you with blue hair before. And then I got there, but I was like, I don't wear a wig. Because wigs often look quite wiggy, although then I went really like the most insane, most incredible hair department they worked on, like Elvis and like all these incredible movies. So like, some people are wearing some hair and you might not even know. And that's for me to know. But it was a big debate. We did all these meetings about dip dyeing my hair so that the bottom half we were going to bleach and then dye it blue. That was going to pose a real challenge continuity-wise. They were just like, this is going to be a big pain in the butt. We have to come in twice a week so that we're making sure that the blue is consistent and we're jumping around timelines and are we trying to do lighter here and darker here and it sounds too confusing. So they just made some pieces that they clipped in my hair and then they lit the show very dark. And no one can see the pieces. I want you to know. I diligently went to hair and makeup truck every morning, got those pieces clipped in, and he said, wow, so much blue. I can't believe it's 3 strands.
Oh my God. And also talk about working with costume designer Allison Brie.
Yes.
And what she did. I mean, this look of Amy's, especially in the Hope Circle, like it's iconic.
Allison
So good.
Brie is incredible. I think she came in, I and was able to really distinguish between each of the siblings and do this amazing weave of like who they are now, who they were then. Especially in the final episode of the show, the kids sort of like sleep at the house. I'm not spoiling anything. And they like wake up in the house, and some of us are wearing old Delaney Tennis Academy stuff. And like, I think that she was just so smart about the way I think that she made each character. They're such archetypes, but she made them feel like very real people. And Amy's wardrobe in particular, it was vintage pieces, and it was newer pieces, and it was like, you could go really obviously boho in certain ways with it, but I think she was really good at also mixing in a vintage t-shirt and like old stuff like that felt easy. That Amy's going for ease, but she also has a little bit of flair. I mean, that outfit that I wear for the Hope Circle, Allison Fanger went to Boulder, Colorado in the middle of the shoot for her daughter's graduation.
Okay.
And it's like she's on this crazy 48-hour trip for her daughter's graduation, and when she got back, she's like, you gotta see what I got for Amy. But it was just this, I'm in Boulder, Colorado. I've been. When I was in college, road trips, sound in Boulder, and that's the kind of stuff. I think I bought like one of those sound bowls.
Right, yes. Oh my God, did you do?
I chose the sound bath.
You really hear me talk that. Did you take tennis lessons for this? Because in the first episode, you really, like,
I played one time.
Yeah, you played one time, but it's good and it's convincing. I mean, I was like, damn, sign her up for the French Open.
I took tennis lessons, we all took tennis lessons. I've spoken publicly about not being great at tennis. I want to amend that a little bit, because I think, it's just that I've never played tennis ever before in my life, but I'm actually much more athletic now than I was as a teenager.
Okay.
Like basically anything post-Glow, which was a show I worked on. On that show, and anything I've done since, I think I just have more confidence to it, being like, there's a possibility I may be able to learn how to do this, which is my mindset about tennis. But 4 weeks is not enough. It was a short timeline up to shooting that, so I was actually getting better at it slowly but surely. But we're supposed to look like pro level. I mean, just the these people who've been playing tennis since they were small children. It was easier to learn choreography at the end of the day for my one tennis scene. And we shot with no ball. But look, it's movie magic. It's TV streaming magic.
I love you so much. We have got to get you not just an Emmy nomination, but an Emmy win. Because because we've been out of time for a while, but I don't care.
I was just saying, kill yourself. I'm sorry.
What if Meryl Streep was out there waiting for her next panel? She's not ready, but when she was like, sorry, like, we're not done yet. Finally, tell me, what do you hope the message is of this series? Because I do think there's something to really take away from it in terms of, you were talking about the mental health aspect, which is so crucial to really understanding. But what do you hope people, when they're done watching, they take away and understand?
Well, we've all been saying that the moral of the show really is call your mom. And I think that in a slightly more global sense, it really is about appreciating the people in your life when they're in your life right now. There's no better moment than now to tell those people what they mean to you. Because anything can happen.
Yeah. Well, I love you. You're amazing. And we love all of you too. It's so rich and it's so entertaining.